The unasked question. It feels new, but why does it keep repeating? Have you noticed something in your daily life? The same kind of reaction keep appearing again and again, even when the situations look different on the outside. There is something familiar in the way we respond. A simple movement happens, a word is spoken, or a situation unfolds. Almost immediately, a response raises within, and that response feels natural and immediate. It feels as though it is happening for the first time, as if the reaction belongs only to this moment. There is no sense of repetition in the instant. It feels new, fresh, and fully real. But if we observe more carefully, a quiet question begins to appear. Is this response truly new each time? Or is something repeating beneath the surface? In the previous episode, we explored how clarity can return when what is added to a moment is noticed. That brought a certain lightness to seeing. But even with that understanding, the same responses seem to come back again. The same patterns continue to appear in life. So, what keeps this moment repeating? Let us look at a simple movement within. Something happens and a reaction appears. This reaction may be small or very strong, but it does not end completely in that moment. After the reaction passes, a subtle trace remains behind, not just as a memory of the event, but as a felt impression within. This impression stays quietly in the background. It is not always visible or clearly noticed, but it becomes active again when needed, especially when a similar situation appears. So, the next time something similar happens, the earlier impression is already present. It influences the response immediately, making the reaction feel familiar. Because of this, the response feels automatic. It does not feel like something chosen. It feels like something that simply happens as if it was already prepared in advance. This creates a subtle cycle in experience. Something happens, a reaction follows. That reaction leaves an impression behind, and that impression shapes the next reaction. This cycle continues without effort. It does not need to be maintained consciously. Each moment naturally leads to the next, like a flow that carries itself forward. Every reaction strengthens the impression it leaves, and every impression influences future reactions. Over time, this becomes a stable pattern even without our awareness. So, when a situation appears, the response is not completely new. It carries something from the past, even if it is not recognized. That is why reactions feel immediate. They seem to arise without any gap. But within that immediacy, there is already influence present. This influence is not forced or intentional. It operates quietly in the background. It shapes perception and response together without asking for attention. So, what continues is not the situation itself. Situations change constantly in life, but the way we respond remains similar. That is where repetition actually lives. The repetition is not outside, it is within the moment of response. Stored impressions respond again and again, keeping the cycle active. When these impressions are not noticed, they continue to guide reactions silently. Each response feels natural and justified, even though it follows an old pattern. And every new reaction adds to this cycle, creating fresh impressions once again. So the movement keeps renewing itself without any visible effort. This is why the repetition continues, not because life is repeating the same thing, but because the response carries continuity from one moment to the next. When this movement is clearly observed, something subtle begins to change. The reaction may still arise as before, but it is now seen as it appears. In that moment of seeing, there is a small pause, a space where the pattern is visible instead of being immediately followed. This space is not created by effort. It appears naturally with clear observation. In that space, the movement slows down, even if only for a brief moment. Because the pattern is now visible, it is no longer completely automatic. It does not take over in the same way. Something has shifted quietly. The repetition begins to weaken, not by control or resistance, but simply because it is seen clearly and no longer moves unnoticed. The cycle is not broken forcefully, it just does not complete fully. Something in it loses continuity because awareness is present. Then a deeper curiosity begins to appear. If this moment slows down when seen clearly, if repetition weakens without effort, what remains when it becomes quiet? What is present when this cycle is no longer active? When reaction does not immediately follow, when the moment settles on its own. In the next episode, we explore this final question of the season. When this repeating moment becomes quiet, what is actually left?